Alright, this video shows reinstallation of propellers onto a Volvo IPS drive. These are T3s. We're going to start with greasing all of our splines on the shaft. These already have a fair bit of grease on them, but we'll squirt a couple lines on it. And then we're gonna work it in with a glove to get it fully spread out. If you don't spread it out, it'll bunch up when you put the propeller on and it'll all ooze out and it won't actually do its job. You don't need to worry about getting the end threads greased. They don't need it. Once that's done, take the glove off. Got some in there already somehow. So those are greased. We start with our 4-blade propeller. Notice the diffuser ring is in here. This is new. You always want to check the condition of this and make sure it's not chewed up or broken. These are brand new. They break a lot. They're plastic. So you're going to slide the propeller on and you're going to rotate it until you'll basically just feel it kind of line up in the groove. There it goes. It slides right on like that. Now we have all of our hardware here. You have your nose cone full of bolts. We're going to dump those out. And then we're going to separate our pieces. This is the rear piece. This is the front piece. Again, be aware this is a cutter, so this is sharp. So we're going to put this on and you're going to just thread it. The cutter moves independently of this portion, so when you're tightening this down, just be aware you're going to have to move this cutter so it lines up with the holes. Once this is fully tightened in there, it's sometimes hard to move the cutter, so just keep an eye on that as you're spinning it in, because it can be a problem once it's already tight. When you're tightening this down, hand tight only. We don't torque anything. It's just hand tight, line up the holes so the bolts can go through, and that's it. You just want it snug so it's pressed up against the hub and the hub can't move. It does take a little bit to spin it in. So there we go, it's starting to tighten up. Now I'm gonna get the cutter aligned now, and you're gonna notice as it gets tighter, things aren't going to want to spin as easily. So that's about it right there. So now we're going to move the cutter and we're going to do that. All right, that's it. She's tight. That little bit of play is normal. It's going to move in and out a little bit. Both props do that. That's perfectly normal. 6mm Allen bolts. Can set them in by hand. And then again, these bolts are just tightened to snug. They do not need to be extra tight or torqued. Not necessary. Sometimes you'll have to kind of rotate the disc a little bit to get these bolts to start. Once they're all started, they go in pretty easily. So there are threaded holes in the hub, and that's what we're having to line this disc up on. And in this case, the holes aren't lined up quite right. I think that's about it there. You'll feel it drop in. There it goes. So notice how it's just a little bit loose. That's normal. Now we put our bolts in. Tighten everything up. Just get everything somewhat tightened down a little bit, and we'll go through again and do it actually tight to finish it off. Now this process, you can turn the propeller, so you don't need to work your hand around it. You can just get it snug, and then we're gonna do one more check of all 4 bolts. Snug, snug, snug. Good, so that's it. And we do the next propeller. This is the 3-blade. Same procedure, slip it on. You're gonna feel it line up in the grooves. This one actually went on first time. So again here, same thing. Notice this turns, and notice the 4 holes that are already drilled in the hub. So these holes have to line up with those. This moves independently, so it's not too hard. You'll just spin it on, again by hand, same thing. There it is, it's already snug. And then we're gonna put a bolt in and just kind of rotate until it hits. Sometimes you can see through the holes. In this case I can. So I can see there's a hole right there. There it goes, it's seated. So I'm gonna put the others in. And again, repeat the process. Just tighten them all loose and then go back through and snug them up. All right, and then one more, just that last check, tight, 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 tight. All right, last portion, we've got 1 bolt left. So again, there's a total of 9 6mm bolts. And the nose cone. Before you reinstall the nose cone, always check it, look for cracks. Make sure there's nothing wrong with it. These are common failure points. They'll break. Same thing with the diffuser ring in the back. They're plastic. So always check them. This one looks fine. So we're going to slide it on. If it ever doesn't want to slide on, don't worry about it. You can always just put the bolt in and use the bolt to tighten it down. Again, not super tight with this. Remember, it's plastic. So as long as it's snug, you're good to go. You want to make sure there's no gap here. I already beat it on mostly by hand, but notice now it's tightening up. You can see, there we go. And we're just going to do one final snug turn. That's it. So propellers are on. Now what we want to do is check everything. Notice this little bit of play. That's normal. There's always going to be that play. Sometimes there's even a little bit of forward and back motion, just a little bit. That's okay. On these T3s there isn't. But again, notice that little play when you're going back and forth. Everything spins. We've checked for movement. All our bolts are tight. Installation completed.